Whether you know nothing about WordPress, or you know a little bit, or you're already familiar with the platform, this video is for you. In this video, we're going to talk about the most important things about WordPress. These things will help you understand WordPress better and work with it more easily. So watch till the end of the video. This is not a video on how to install WordPress or how to create a website with WordPress. In this video, we will talk about the most important concepts for WordPress as a beginner. So first, let's start with the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com. These two might seem similar, but they are two different things. WordPress.com is like a blogging service that you need to pay and create a website. They take care of the professional thing and all the technical stuff for you. They create a host. They give you a domain name, and it's basically free, but if you want more options, you need to pay for them. On the other hand, WordPress.org is the main website of WordPress. In this website, you can download WordPress, install it on your hosting, create a database, and then connect that database to your hosting. And basically, you are responsible for all the technical stuff. So what is free on WordPress.com? Basically, you can create a website and create some posts, but if you want to install a plugin or if you want to customize your website, you need to buy a subscription. If you also want to install a custom theme, you also need to buy a subscription. So basically, you'll end up paying for a subscription. On the other hand, WordPress.org is always free. You can always download the WordPress file from this website, and you never are going to pay for this. When you download the WordPress file from WordPress.org and install it on your own hosting, you have the complete freedom to make any changes that you want and install any plugins or theme that you want. WordPress is open source, and this means that everybody can be a developer. And right now, the core of the WordPress is maintained by some developers from all around the world. The company behind WordPress, though, is Automatic. They set the general policy and the direction of the platform, and they also have paid employees to maintain the platform. Now, let's see some of the most important concepts in WordPress. The first concept is post types, which I think are the core concept for the content in WordPress. By default, WordPress has some post types like posts, pages, media or attachments, and also blog templates. If you take a look at these post types, for example, posts or pages, you can see that they kind of have the same structure. They have a title, they have a content, and they have a featured image, and also they have some meta and some taxonomies. We will talk about those later. Now, as you can see, we have some options here to customize the content for this post. On the other hand, we have pages, which are similar to posts, but there is a slight difference. We use pages for static content like Contact Us page or About Us page, and we use posts for mostly news or blog posts. Another important difference is that we can categorize and add tags to the WordPress posts and not pages. But in general, they have the same structure and are added to the same table in the WordPress database. Now imagine that you're a drugstore and you want to create content about your medicines, and your medicines can be actually fit into the post or page concept. So you need to have a custom post type. This is actually something that can be done either with a plugin or with code. Either way, you can create a custom post type and have the same structure as a post and also customize the behavior and the content. If I add my custom post type to WordPress, it will be added to the left menu. So you can see here that I have created this medicine post type and now I have it here. And if I add a new medicine, because I have customized the template for this and deleted the content, I have this new structure here. You can customize this with code or with a plugin. As I mentioned earlier, there are some ways to classify your content in WordPress and to put them in certain groups. And these groups in WordPress are called taxonomies. For posts, the default taxonomies are categories and tags. For pages, we don't have any taxonomies because that's the way that they designed it. And for your custom post type, you can define as many taxonomies as you want. You can also add custom taxonomies to posts or pages if you want to. So what are categories and tags, and what are the differences? Well, the name actually defines them, but the main difference between them is that categories are hierarchical while tags are not. Other than that, they work in the same way and classify your content. So for my medicines, I have added a types taxonomy, which I can use for my medicines to define if they are tablets or if they are drops or if they are capsules. There is one more piece of information that we can add to our post types, and that is metafields. Actually, we can add metafields to almost anything in WordPress, and metafields are basically extra information that we can add. But for post types, metafields are really important because we use them a lot in our websites. So let me explain this with an example. So the main difference between a taxonomy and a custom field is the way that we want them to behave. We use taxonomies to classify our data and categorize them, but we use metafields to store extra information about the post types. For example, for this medicine that we have saved here, we can use the types, which we have set to tablet, to categorize this data, and we can use the dosage here to add extra information, for example, 10 or 20. Another example for this, a taxonomy might be the company that has created this medicine, and an example for the custom fields can be the instruction for use. The next concept that I want to talk about is the two main ways to edit the content in WordPress. Nowadays, if you open a post type in WordPress, the default way to edit the content is using the block editor or Gutenberg. If you're an old WordPress user and you remember back in the days, the default editor for WordPress was Classic Editor, and it was something like this. But it wasn't called Classic Editor at that time. But right now it's called Classic Editor, and it's available as a separate plugin to install on your website. Let's install this Classic Editor and see how it looked like previously. Now I have installed the Classic Editor and I want to edit a post content. So let's see how it looks like. As you can see, I have a title and I have a content, and I have a right sidebar here that has the taxonomies and the page attributes and featured image. The same thing as we saw on our custom post types. And that was because I have disabled Gutenbergs for those post types. Now, as you can see here, there are no many options here, and all I can add here is text or a media. If I want to add dynamic content to this editor, I need to use shortcodes. And this doesn't actually give you the freedom to create your own structure for the content. Now, let me explain what are shortcodes and what do they do. So if you want to add dynamic content to your posts, the best way is to use shortcodes. Shortcodes are some things in these brackets that you can use. For example, something like shortcode, but not actually shortcode. And in the background, it will run some code and output something. A good example for this is Contact Form 7 plugin, which you can use its shortcode here. I can basically copy this and paste it in my posts or page or any custom post type. And then the output for this would be a contact form. So if I see this page, I can see that beneath my content, I have a contact form. So this was actually a good thing about WordPress, that you could add dynamic content with shortcode, but also a bad thing was that this was the only way to add dynamic content and also change the structure. So what happened was that some companies started to create their own page builders. So what did page builders do? In the background layers, they were working with shortcodes and they were writing shortcodes on your post content, but you could actually interact with their UI and UX and create complex structures in your post type. We will talk about the most famous page builders after we talk about Gutenberg. So the general look and feel might be similar to a classic editor, but the main difference is that everything in Gutenberg or block editor is a block. You have this plus button here, and you can see the list of the block options that you can add to your content. In addition to that, you can also click anywhere in your content and add the blocks. This paragraph also is a block, but if you want to add some content and see the list of the options in the right sidebar, then you can add, for example, an image and upload an image here and see that you kind of have different options here. You can have some options on hover here that you can change the align and change the filter, add a link, add a caption, or here you can change the style or change the other settings like width and height. So this is way more advanced than the classic editor. If you want to have more advanced structures, then you can add rows and columns to your content and define the structure for that column. Also, one other thing to mention in Gutenberg or block editor is patterns. So whenever you have a set of repetitive blocks and you use them a lot, you can turn them into a pattern and easily use them across your website. I can right click on these blocks and click on the create pattern and add them to the patterns. And I can also use the predefined patterns here, or the patterns that the users have created. This is not all for WordPress block editor. In addition to editing the posts and pages content, the full site editor allows you to edit the header, footer, and also sidebars of your website with blocks. In order to see the full site editor, you need to go to the appearance and the editor section. But first, your theme should be block based. If your theme is a block theme, then you can have all these options to edit all of the content on your website with blocks. This is a fairly new feature in WordPress, and it's not widely used. While Gutenberg as a page builder is not that popular, a lot of other page builders that I mentioned earlier are. A good example of this is Elementor. Elementor has a free and also a pro version, and it's the #1 downloaded page builder in WordPress, and it's one of the top 5 most popular WordPress plugins. If I want to edit a post content with Elementor, you would see that it almost offers the same features as Gutenberg, but in a better way. I can click on edit element with Elementor here. And as you can see, there are more options than block editor, and the user experience is fairly better. One other important thing about WordPress is plugins and themes. Basically, the themes are the general look and feel about your website, and plugins are used to add extra functionality to your website. But nowadays, most of the big themes have their own functionality within themselves without relying on extra plugins. So also you have free plugins on WordPress repository and also free themes on WordPress repository, but also you can buy the pro themes and plugins from other websites. They might have more features than the free ones. You have a built-in import and export tool in WordPress, which allows you to export and import data at any time that you want without any limitations. So if you want to import the data, you can import it from Blogger, LiveJournal, or RSS or Tumblr, or simply the WordPress itself. Or if you want to export the data, you have the option to select what data you want to export. For example, posts, pages, or any other custom post type. If you ever wanted to check your general state of the website, you can come to the Tools and Site Health section and check the info and status of your website. On the info section, you have general information about the WordPress and its version, and your server and your themes and plugin and also your database. And on the status tab, You have the more important things that tells you that you have one critical issue on your website. If you ever want to learn more about WordPress, there are some great resources on WordPress.org and on the Learn section. In Learn WordPress documentation and also WordPress.tv. If you're also a developer, the developer's reference is also a good reference for you. In our next videos, we will talk about the core concept of WordPress that you need to know as a developer and the most common APIs that we use. Stay tuned for the next video and let me know in the comments that what are the most important concepts about WordPress in your opinion.